Hello everyone and welcome to day 2 of the finals between levon Aronian and Teymur Rajabov. Rajabov won game 1 after the first 3 games ended in a draw. Rajabov won the 4th game, and now we need a win from levon to get back into the match. So let's see what happens here. Levon has the white pieces, and this is already a complete and utter madness, starting with game 1. So levon opens with e4, we have e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now bishop to c4. The Italian game is on the board, and now bishop to c5. And yes, I know you guys are really eager to see if b4 was played in this position, but no, levon did not go for the Evans Gambit. Unfortunately, he played c3, and now knight to f6. So just continuing with the main line of the Giuoco Piano, we have d3, and now both players castle. So castles, castles, and the d6. So a nice symmetrical position. It has been played a million times. Bishop to g5, now developing the bishop, pinning that knight, and now h6. Rajabov pushes the bishop back, bishop h4, and even g5 here. We have bishop captures, even though there are some lines where you can even sacrifice the knight here, but it's pretty much a force to draw in this level of competition. So bishop back to g3, and now a5 by Rajabov. We have rook to e1, and now there is one game in the database where g4 was played, but here we have rook to e8 by Rajabov, and it is already, as of move 10, that we have a completely new game. So here, knight b to d2, preparing the standard maneuver. Knight f1 is coming to e3. Bishop back to a7. You don't want that d4 push when it happens to come with an attack on the bishop, so bishop back to a7. And now knight to f1 with bishop to e6 offering a trade, and levon keeps the pressure on the board, just remaneuvering the bishop to b5, now not allowing this knight to move. So bishop back to d7, and only now knight to e3. So at some point this knight might come to f5. We have knight to e7 now, offering a trade of light square bishops, and levon defends it with a4. So here, while you can, for example, capture and double up white's b pawns, you also give the white rook a semi-open a file, so not something you want to do. So after this a4 move, Rajabov has to decide whether he wants to capture, for example, on e3, whether he wants to play something like c6 and kick away this bishop, whether he wants to improve the position of the king. And this is the first time in the game that Rajabov took, I think, maybe like a minute and a half, and he played c6. So he kicked away the bishop, bishop to c4, and now knight to g6. And here levon's move is very, very instructive. The move he plays next is queen to c2, and this is something you should always remember whenever your opponent advances his pawns in front of the king like this, and his bishop, your own bishop, for example, is pinning the f7 pawn. Then if this queen ever captures the knight, the pawn will not be able to capture back. So queen c2, with the idea of some pawn advancements in the center. So for the moment the position in the center is closed, but if the pawns move forward, then queen captures on g6 is a very big threat. So here, knight to f4 by Rajabov, he gets that knight into a much more active square, and rook a to d1. Everything is getting ready for that d4 thrust. So queen to e7, Rajabov develops the queen, connects the rooks, and now finally d4 by levon. We have e captures on d4, and now bishop captures on f4. It's important to eliminate the defender of the g6 square. So levon captures it, we have g captures, and here comes levon's idea, e5. And now, as we can see this here, bishop is still on this diagonal, and queen to g6 is the threat, as black will not be able to capture back. And now, what do you play here? Well, here Rajabov played d captures on e3, which is not the absolute best move. I'm just going to show you the absolute best move because it's super complicated, but it's actually d3. And it's for a rapid game, you simply do not see this. The point is, you want to close off this diagonal for the moment, force the white queen to capture, and only now capture on f3. And now you are nicely threatening to capture here with check, as the bishop defends this pawn, and after this queen g6 check, you're going to play king to h8, captures with check, knight h7, and now the point is, after a move, let's say f captures on e3, now you play d5. And the point is, after bishop to d3, as this was all white's plan all along, now you can play f5, and after e captures on f6, en passant, trying to get the queen to capture to checkmate the black king. Now you have this queen captures on e3 check, and that's the whole point. Rook captures, bishop captures with check. White also has to give up the queen, and after captures and captures, black is up a whole rook and completely winning. But kind of a lot to see in a rapid game, you know, in a minute or two. So Rajabov played the next best thing, d captures on e3, and now he allows queen to g6 with check. King to h8, and now queen captures with check. Knight blocking with h7, and now levon just attacks the knight and threatens checkmate. Bishop to d3 is now threatening checkmate. And here Rajabov has to figure out, does he block checkmate? How does he block checkmate? Can he even block checkmate? Or does he just play e captures on f2 with check and win material? So if there's nothing wrong with it, you should always capture material and then defend, unless, you know, it loses on the spot. So here Rajabov first captures on f2 with check. King to f1, and now he grabs the rook again with check. And here we've reached a position from the thumbnail where black momentarily has two queens on the board, but it doesn't help him all that much, since rook captures on e1, and now you're still you know, getting checkmated here. So how do you defend this? F5 is one move you can play, but instead of F5, Rajabov finds the very resourceful bishop to F5. He wants to get the bishop away from the defense of the C4 square. He wants to have the ability to get his queen there, as he is planning to bring his queen to F7 and then to C4 to come with check. So that's why this well, pretty crazy bishop sacrifice. So here levon accepts it, still threatening checkmate, and now f6. The queen now defends against checkmate. E captures on f6. Now the queen again cannot capture, you're getting checkmated, so queen to f7. And now we see the idea behind Rajabov's bishop to f5 move. He wants to have this option of playing queen to c4 with check. And here levon started bringing his rook up the board, and well, had he captured on e8, he probably would have won the game. But he actually played rook to e8, and a lot of people thought this was a mouse slip, but as it turns out, it wasn't, as levon played it instantly, and it does come with the idea of bringing the knight to g5. However, Rajabov simply captured it. We have rook captures, and now knight to g5. The knight cannot capture. There's now a triple attack on the knight. Also, the black queen is under attack. There's a monster fork here. So Rajabov's next move is forced, and he has to give up the queen. So rook captures on f6 was played. Knight captures with check, rook captures, and now comes bishop captures on h7. Rook captures, and now queen to f6 with check. And here, as you can see, Rajabov has two rooks and the bishop for a queen, and he is better in this position, but it's very hard to wiggle out the king away from that corner, as Rajabov has merely seconds on the clock. So knight rook g7, king to g8 was played. We have queen to g6 check, and now a series of checks occurred. Rook g7, queen to e6 check, rook f7, queen to g6 back with check, and now Rajabov either has to block or move the king. He decides to move the king, which gives up yet another pawn, so maybe not the best thing to do, but Rajabov just wants to get out of checks. If he can get that rook into the game, he should be winning this. So king g7, queen back to e5 check, king g6, queen e6 check, king g7, queen e5 check, king to g6, queen to e6 with check, king g7, and queen to e5 check. And it was in this position that not only did the players agree to a draw, but it was actually a threefold repetition that occurred. So of course the game ended in a draw. But really insane stuff. levon really producing almost a masterpiece here with that brilliant attack. But yeah, that's something you should always look for in your own games when you have this option of, let me just rewind that for a little bit. When you see black placing, for example, or white, his pieces like this, where you have this option of going after that knight, then always imagine things that maybe, you know, even though they are very far away, maybe it can happen. Maybe you can move some pawns, and then the idea becomes possible. So this is what levon did here, and he played a brilliant attack, and it almost won him the game. But Rajabov's defense proved to be very sturdy, and he was not able to push it all the way. So we'll see what happens. Game 1 ends in a draw, and 3 more games to go. Will levon equalize, and will we go into tiebreaks, or will Rajabov simply win it all? So yeah, that's game 1. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Jamal Nazi, Linas Domanskis, Raymond Letta, Eric Rodovic, and Brian Hoffaker for contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. continuing with the coverage of the finals, checking up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.